Okay, it looks like it is 6 o'clock, so I will get started so that we don't run overtime. For a Thursday evening when it's chilly out and we're expecting bad weather, I wouldn't want anybody to be caught up. You can always watch this tomorrow. So I will type and I will also use the screen to discuss the class in general and specifically work through the first lab that is due on the 18th. And then hopefully that'll give you some um, background information into ZyBooks and what the class is about. So the first thing that we will look at, which obviously um, you can do this yourself, but it's always nice um, to touch on the high points of a class. So here is my information. And you can call my cell phone, but you can also text me too. That's totally fine. Just make sure that you identify yourself. Um, like, hey, this is Jim Smith. Please uh, excuse me for whatever. Um, in a distance ed class, it's not as important as in a face-to-face class, but if something happens and you need to take your midterm or your final or submit some assignments or something and it's of urgency, um, I am by far not the first person that you should text should you be in an accident, have a household emergency, be without heat, lose your power. That's fine. Don't, you can send me an email or if you want to text me, if it's a long situation, go right ahead. But you can send me an email and we can always go back and change the deadline for the individual as needed. Um, but I want you to understand that we have the deadlines in place for the assignments programmed into ZyBooks as well as in Blackboard. So if you do submit something after the time frame in ZyBooks, then it won't send the grades over to Blackboard. And I have to go in and push the grades over. So if you email me and you say, hey, I won't be able to submit it this week, is it okay if I have another week? And I say, yes, go right ahead. And you do it on a Wednesday or a Friday or whatever, and it still shows as a 0. I go through and update those dates at the end of the week. Sometimes because I'll get some notifications if somebody needs to extend something else another week. So I try to double up on it because it's a little tedious to go through it all. So we will, um, you don't need to purchase a voucher from the bookstore. It is free, and it should be, I should change that. I didn't even see that that was there. And you'll be able to access it through the Blackboard course itself. I don't know if any of you have worked in ZyBooks before, and if you have, that's great. If not, then we can um, learn more through the first lab. The course will be going through the ZyBooks, working on HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript. It starts off trying to give you a bit of information about all of them. And then after the midterm, we will work on a 3-page website, which will use Bootstrap and have a similar look and feel on all of the pages using headers and footers and some static content. But also we can move into some dynamic content if necessary. And we don't have to worry about face masks or attendance. Attendance is important. There are some things as a distance ed teacher, if you have not logged into the class, into Blackboard and into the class after so long, I will put a notification in TAPS that will email you and other people, I guess, as advisors or things like that, to let them know that you have been missing in action. So if you plan to be gone, you can send me an email and let me know. Otherwise, you might see that TAPS notification, and there's incremental steps before you can be removed from the course. So if there's an extended situation, like your computer's broke or something, and you can't do the work, it is very important that you get in touch with me. There, there is only one real test. The midterm is a week-long project in ZyBooks. There is a final exam. The final exam is open. Um, it might be for the whole week of finals week. You get one chance to take it, and we can cover that later. But you're welcome to use your book, and you're welcome to use any notes. You are not to use Google or AI or other things. I do not have any proctoring software for the test to ensure that you have to stand in front of a camera and do all these things, and we verify all that information. Um, so be as honest as you feel you can live with yourself on, and try to use your book. And I'll show you how to search in the book too, so it could be a pretty easy test. Um, Academic dishonesty. If you submit work that is not your own and I find out about it, um, then I can remove you from the course and give you an F. Hopefully that doesn't happen. There's only been one time in my years of teaching where someone submitted something with someone else's name on it, and since they were exactly the same, it was quite evident. The regular evaluation grading scale, since I can't give A pluses, which does make me sad. The grade strategy here will be labs and the final project are 30%. The midterm and the final are 30%. And then the readings, the participation exercises, and the challenge exercises are 40%. If you notice, you can do some fancy math and have a C, right? If you don't want to do the midterm or the final, then that gives you 70% of the labs, the project, and the reading, and the participation questions. I would highly suggest not doing that in some of the later labs if things get difficult, or if you don't do the challenge exercises and you find that you are now like at a 60 and you didn't do the midterm. I won't let you make up the midterm. Um, and then that will be part of your grade missing. If you don't do well on the final, you know, some people try to min-max, and it's probably best to just do your best in all areas and um, take home a decent grade. This class is not meant to fail you. I am here to help you. I want you to learn how to do this. I am the webmaster of Vincent's University, and sharing my craft with everyone makes me very happy. And then here's a general outline of our weekly course calendar. So back to the class itself. Here is my contact information again, with my Twitch channel and the YouTube channel where the videos will be uploaded to. And then if you want to come for an office hour, you can in person, or we can do it over Zoom or Google Meet, whichever you prefer. And then um, the information for the Twitch channel. This is a quick little intro PowerPoint. You can go through it. It has a lot of the same information. Um, Talks a little bit about me and some of my hobbies. And then an assignment to make sure that you've looked through all of these, which is good to do. Installing a code text editor. So Notepad++ is one that I really like. There is Visual, what was it? Visual, I wrote it down somewhere, sorry. Um, Visual Code. There's also Visual Studio, but that's a huge hog. You can choose the default browser. Chrome works with the um, Chrome, Mozilla, all of them have the inspect window right now. So it's not a big deal, whichever one you want to use. I am not the biggest knowledge base on Mac machines. And so if you have a Mac, I will try to fumble through your questions and I will try to do my very best to help you. Um, but we may have to Google some things. Um, in the beginning, we used to have all of our stuff downloaded onto our computer. Our labs are now all in ZyBooks, so I suppose this isn't necessary, but um, having a folder on your desktop, or not your desktop specifically, but a folder for your final would be extremely useful. And then places that you can load your files. These also work for sending me the final if you want to upload your files to a Dropbox altogether and send me the link to it, and then I can download it at that date and then grade it from there. So here is our first week. This video, I'm pretty sure, outlines about the same things that I am going to show you. Um, you can watch that. And then here's our first lab file. I can go through the chapters and just talk about all of the things, but and there's a tutorial for the ZyLabs if you would like to watch it. But um, the beginning things are pretty boring, and you can read through and do the exercises. And I'll open that up. Actually, let me do that. I'll open that up and show you how to do a participation exercise. So here's a participation activity. Most of them are just click the start button and you click the next, next, next as you go. And it gives you a visual of the information that it's talking about. And while I can reiterate what it's doing, sometimes I feel a little silly when it's a very simple video. There are captions, so it can tell you what step 1, 2, and 3 are. So here is an example of a participation activity that you can be graded on. The period when the web was first developed. Now this information is right back up here. Um, they're not all quite like this, but so the early 1990s, and it'll tell you whether you're correct or here we'll do this, and it tells you if you're incorrect. This system will help you find the right answers. So um, use that to your advantage. If you run into a situation where you can't figure out what the answer is supposed to be, send me a screenshot of what you have, like your code, and the error that it gives you, and also what the exercise is that you're doing. And when we get to the challenge exercises, you'll see there's step tabs at the bottom, what step tab you're on, so that I can go in and look and see what the book suggests, because it is pretty strict in its grading. And while there's many ways to do web things, the book per chapter is telling you a way to do it based on what it's told you in the chapter. And while my brain may think of 3 different ways to do something, the book really only wants one. So here you can answer true false questions. The browser wars, that was really fun. Now Chrome has taken up a lot of it. There's a few other ones like Brave and Firefox, and obviously Apple machines have their own browser. Sorry, I have a smidgen of a sore throat, um, which is what I can hear myself getting gravelly. I have a drink here. So then, let me get down to a challenge exercise. Don't skip these. Don't skip the participation exercises. Don't skip the challenge exercises. It puts a grade in the grade book. I can track your activity. If you do all of these and it doesn't give you a grade, sometimes there's like a mismatch and we can get it resolved. But I would hate to have to fail anybody for not doing these fun items when it can be an easy grade boost. Okay, here's a challenge activity. If you notice down here, we have 4 tabs. You can check your answer. It'll tell you if you're right or wrong, and then you click next when when you get it right. So another thing that I do sometimes, because it could be um, the answer could be not what I expect it to be. I'm going to open it in another window in case I'm wrong. It's known to happen here and there. So, all right. So you click Start, and then it says which IPv4 addresses are valid. There was a section up at the top which talked about IPv4. There's IPv4 and IPv6 because they used to hand out top-level domains, and you could get to all the computers on a network. So here, IPv4, they're 32-bit addresses, which means that it can be 2 to the 32nd or 4 billion. But when they started handing out top-level domains where people would get a million addresses and then they could keep them, the top levels being like 151.103, and then everything underneath that they could have. They would, it's like 35,000 or 36,000 addresses. Then the things like cell phones and the printer and your watch and your cameras and all that other stuff would all get their own IP address. And we ran out of IP addresses. So they came up with IPv6, which uses 128-bit addresses, which gives us a lot more addresses. And since then, they have come up with many more things like little bitty cameras and recording devices and drones, and so many things. We have several automatic lawnmowers and robots that clean the house. So it's a good thing they did it. And then they've also made it so that most houses have subnetting automatically through their router, through um, the company that they go through. But that is for a networking course. But if you read through all of those things and you came down here and it's like what IPv4 addresses are valid, so this one, because it is 3 numbers below 255 with periods and then four of them with up 3 numbers. This has letters in it, so that is not valid. This one has a 365, which is above 255, and then this one is only 3 tuples, I think they're called, but I could be wrong on that. Network people, don't come at me. And then so then we say check, and it says yes, I was correct. And then we go to next, and then it says select the domain name levels for the following URLs. And then, so the top level domain for this would be the Stanford, sorry. The second level domain would be biology. Oh, it's going to ask me all of them. Okay, so top level domain is the edu, top level domain.net.com. Right, watch me get this wrong in front of you guys. So then I say this. I'm totally going to go double check my answers. Okay. All right. So that's kind of what I thought. So then the third level domain is the www because that is the default server nomenclature for a website or web server. And then the fourth level domain should be biology. And let's see. No! All right, let's see. The top level domain of EDU, a second level domain of Stanford, the third level of biology. Oh, I swapped it wrong. Oh no. All right, so then it makes you do it over again. So now we have www.google.com. So this is kind of one of those easy ones because it's .com and then it is Google and then it is the www and then it is does not exist. Ta-da! All right. Next. Given the following URL, what is the URL scheme, hostname, and path? So the scheme is the HTTP. It is this right here. Sometimes you have FTP, SFTP, and HTTPS. Then the host name is this right here. And then the path would be Rome and then road trips. Check. Hey, I got it. Okay. All right. All the URLs below should access a website with a .com, a top-level domain. So which URLs are valid? So let's see. This first one is not valid because it's missing the colon after that HTTPS. This one is not valid because there's a space right there. You can't have spaces, just not in folder names as the first character. I think this one is okay. It's tricky. All right, and then HTTPS, climate. Like this is when they're gonna like put a comma in here and I'm not gonna be able to see it because it's my glasses. Um, HTTPS// okay, and then winter.com. I don't think that's correct. All right, hooray! All right, now as you can see, it tells you when you're right. It also tells you when you're wrong and helps you do better things. Let's see if there, I don't think that, I think we have only the one lab. So, yep. All right. So on to the lab. They will be separate exercises and graded on their own. So, let me get to that. Oh, you will sometimes see a sign that says go back to Blackboard, and that you can go back, but we don't have, so some of these parts have been added. This 1.4 is an example. Stop here and return to Blackboard. Um, these have been carried over for years back when it needed to save all of the things each time somebody did something. Um, when you click it, it'll bring you right back to where you were. So it's easy enough to close the window. Here, we'll give it a test shot right now. Okay, so we're at 1.4. When you click, I say this, when we click the link, does it bring us to 4 or does it bring us to 1? Yep, brings us all the way back to 1. That's no fun. So you can likely ignore that and just keep on keeping on. All right. So our first HTML file. I hear my gravelly voice. HTML is a markup language, and it is processed by the web browser. So we are not compiling anything. It's not code in the sense of strict code. JavaScript would be code that is compiled on the fly, and CSS is styles. You should try to keep your content separate from your styles and separate from your backend databases and programming server side versus on the front end. So I'm going to open up, I'm going to duplicate this and go back up to the HTML page, Introduction to HTML, because this is going to cover what we're going to do here. So if you notice here, they have a perfect HTML file, which also looks like some of the things that they're going to want you to do. So totally use it as a reference. It's not cheating to use it as guide if they have something on the page that they're trying to teach you. So it's got this HTML lang equals English. Now, if you're in a different country, that would be a different thing. And then you have your head tag, and then here's the closing tag for the head tag. And then you will set up what your character set will be. And then the page needs a title. And these, the meta and the title and some other things will go in the head of the page. But we don't have too many of those things until we get into adding style sheets and JavaScript files. But if you ever want to inspect a web page, it will take you to Vincent University's web page, which I get to help with. And you can see here that we have the same thing. This is the doc type, there's the HTML class, and then here's our character set, and then a bunch of other things with some metacodes and our title. And then we talk about viewport and description and keywords, and then we add in some files. So I'll sometimes pull up the Vincent University website as an example of some of the code that we deal with, so that you can see it and know my pain, I guess. Um, so back to our lab real quick. So the first thing it says is to make the HTML tag. It says put all your stuff behind or beyond this line, so we'll make our HTML tag. Now I would advise you to always add your closing tag while you're thinking of it, because in the midterm, that is the #1 reason why things got a bad grade, because they didn't close things. Next, we have our head tag, and we should close the head tag. Now the system will offer some suggestions as it goes. So we're going to set the language property to English, which is right back here, and the title. So copy that and put that there. But the title is going to be different. It's going to be my first website. And you'll notice that I do this pretty often, copying and pasting the words, because sometimes it gives you an error for a space if there's not a space. So if you put my first website exclamation mark, hold on a second, it can give you an error, and it'll highlight that the exclamation mark is wrong. Then you have to go back and do it again. So we're going to open our body tag, and again, close the body tag. Oops. And I'll make some mistakes to show you what it looks like when things are incorrect. So we're going to have the H1 tag. Oh, capital H1, that may not be good. H1 tag. And we close it. It's important for that slash. We'll pretend like I didn't do that. All right. And then I'm going to say, here is my website. Exclamation mark. And you can run it down here to see what it looks like, and I'll show you how to do that real quick. Ooh, let me hit the little run button. Here is my website, exclamation mark, which is not what it really wants me to do. But if I submit it for grading, it runs through a series of tests. And these tests have been determined by ZyBooks. So at least one HTML tag exists? Yes. Language attribute of the HTML tag. It says it should be EN. And I don't have anything there. I don't have anything there. See? See? All right, lang equals EN. There we go. And then submit for grading. and you'll see that error go away. It is best to start with the very first error and work your way down. Oh, title exists. Yep. And then this doesn't exist. And then here it's giving me correction because I didn't do what it told me to do. And then there's a crash because I don't have these things in it, and so it's ended. But if we go back to the very first one, it says at least 2p tags exist. I don't have that yet. So I would then go back and make 2p tags like I'm going to do now. And then we'll see how it goes. But it'll throw bigger and bigger errors if you don't have the things. So as you fix them, it can then properly process it. So if you're like, oh my gosh, it's giving me a dozen errors, just start with the first one. And sometimes it's that um, so like the H1 tag, like this would, when we get to some of these other tests, the H1 tag would come in bad or show up bad because there's two H1s. So now it wants us to have two P tags, and then we'll close the P tags. Oops. And the first one says, I created this web page in my design class at BU. No punctuation. Then the second one says, more lowercase projects, exclamation mark. Okay. All right. Then we're going to submit it for grading, and then you'll see where it throws some errors. Now, since this is the first lab, it may not be so strict on some of the things. So I got an 8 out of 10 because this is wrong. Oh, and I spelled web page design wrong. It wants the F to be a G and the C to be a lowercase c. So go back up here. Now, if you notice, it's not calling out my other H1, and I don't think it's testing for it. I think it's just testing for the first H1. So let me fix the G and make this C small. And then welcome to my first website. We don't need all that space. And it doesn't matter. It ignores white space. Okay. A 10 out of 10 because it wasn't looking for the closing tag. Now, sometimes there'll be something that is an error and it's because there wasn't a closing tag, but the thing below it will be the error because it's looking for a sort of order. So when that happens, like I said, you can screenshot this part with your, I would say start here so that I can see what lab we're working on, and then take full page screenshots as best you can, and then down here with the errors that it's giving you, and then I can look at that and give you an answer right away without having to usually log in and figure it out. So just to, oh, let me close this and see. I don't have any questions yet, which I guess is okay. Um, so elements are items that are used through all HTML documents. We have our H1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s. Paragraph marks. There are emphasis and bold items to make changes in font that are inline. The image element can pull in images and alternative text for either errors with the file name, so if the picture doesn't show up, or for screen readers or people with visible or vision disabilities to be able to get a description of what the picture is. And then how to make web links. We will use the A tag and then the href. And here's the formats for these. And then there'll be some practice that you go through and some exercises. So links, um, they're very important. They're like the bread and butter of everything because, I mean, if you can't get from one web page to another web page, what do you do? It has a closing A tag after the words that you want to be clicked on. Sometimes that is forgotten, and it's very important to remember to do that. And then I want to say, looking to see if it talks about blank yet, and it doesn't. So um, the next chapter we'll talk about a bunch of things. So my plan for this so far will be I'll do this week's lab, which I just did. I'll do next week's lab because there's a couple of them. And then unless people have problems with the labs, I won't bother streaming and making people look at the same time. I can do a video quick for the lab. I may even have some already there from last year. I can always just make it available after the due date if you aren't sure how to do it. So try your best and get in the grade that you can get. And then if you're like, hey, I got a 9 out of 10. Can you show me how to do it? I can post it so I can make it visible so that you can see how the lab was done. And if you want to correct it and, just so that you can have that satisfaction of getting it complete, that's great. It's awesome. Um, oh, so Notepad++, I don't know what I have pulled up in my Notepad++. So let me look. Notepad++. Oh, I have a lot of windows open. Sorry about that. But um, I was working. I open a new window, I add a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, there's my seed from my Valheim. Ha ha ha. Server console logs. Okay. Um, it works like almost like Notepad, and I can pull up Notepad too, because you can use Notepad. It just doesn't add the colors. What is this? Oh, this is. I have crash reports. Let me close some of those. And my Skyrim dump file. Okay. New tab. All right. I don't want to close that one because so it's similar in its simplicity, but this lets you do a whole lot more. So if I were to open, I'm pretty sure I got a, all right, we can open this. So the file names for web pages need to end with the .html, and you do that if you started it and it's a blank page like this. We go to File, Save As, and you select the drop down to get, there's a lot in here. It's used for a lot of different languages, which makes it nice because CSS and JavaScript, it will color code it for you. Um, and then save it. And then if I just bring some of this into it, you can see it color codes it for you. The same with CSS. Let me see if I have one in the directory. Whoa, that went quick. Admissions. No, I don't have one there. Is it in downloads maybe? Nope, 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 nope. When I was redoing the website, oh my gosh, so many things. But I got a new computer hard drive, so this one, I mean, it'll still have a lot on there because of the videos, but there's a lot less on here. All right. Well, we'll leave that be for now. When we get to the CSS, we'll see how it goes. Um, and so you can type just like, I need a title. Um, hit enter. Now I am a little, I don't want to say OCD, but I guess it could be OCD with the tabbing of items across. And you see it highlights when you have the first and the second. So title, test, page 1. And then if we do the head, it'll try to fill it for you. So it's like, oh, you want to close your head tag. That's great. And then you close your head tag. And then you can open your body tag. And it's very much like the editor on the page itself. It does try to offer some suggestions. So an example is um, I'll do a style tag real quick, and then um, you see I'm typing and it's trying to see what I want to add to it. Um, and then over here, I'll go up here. See, it's trying to help here as well. But, oh, it's because I got the equals after it, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that one's better. Oh, you saw it. Yeah, it starts to try to, but it didn't find centered because it's not sure. Trying to think of something else that it would do. As you move forward through the labs, this will offer more options. It's like the labs know what you're looking for, and it'll start to help pre-fill it. Uh, so text align. Not that we'll jump ahead because the next chapter we'll talk about it. But CSS styles use a colon instead of an equals, and then they end with a semicolon. There are some elements that end with, so like you could use an image tag. We'll just pick. So like this, instead of this closing tag, there's only a few that do that, where it ends. And um, sometimes the book hates it. That's the other problem. I can go find a picture, but I should probably make sure I have them in a safe folder. I don't think I have anything too strange on the computer. I got some wow AOTC pictures and things like that. Are there any other questions? I copied it with the quotes. All right, and then let me close the body tag. Oh, I'll show you how to see your pages. Oop. HTML. All right, so once you've saved your page, test one, and then you go into your document. Let me make sure that's where it is. I want to say file save as. Yeah, documents test one. All right, and then date modified, it should be up at the top. Oh, it opened it over here. Let me bring it over here. So there's the picture in the page. Let me get that out of the way. So to view what your web page would look like, depending on your browser of choice, we'll close this. You can click it and you can say open with and like do Google Chrome to preview what your website web page looks like, which is kind of neat because then you can just keep this open and let me open this over here. Oh, okay, we got this here. So then we can save it and then you just go right back to the browser and I could probably that way, and then refresh and now it's added my text to it. So you can work. I know my screen's a little bit probably bigger, but if you have two monitors or if you're okay working with them a little squished as far as code space goes, this will auto wrap. Um, then you can work in it and then refresh over here when you save it to see if it works or if you need to make changes. I know here there's spaces, and it puts in the spaces because it's a local drive link. Websites will put in percent 20% into the title when it's looking for a space, which is okay in 9 out of 10 cases, but every once in a while that causes a problem. And the slashes are the wrong way. Slashes and web need to be this way. All right. If there aren't any more questions, then I will probably, I'm trying to think what my week looks like. So I'm teaching 2 classes. So next Thursday, I'm doing the same time slot for the other class that I teach. Um, so I suppose I could do it Wednesday and have it up there. I don't think I have anything on Wednesday. I have a teenage daughter. Sometimes I have to go places that I didn't expect, but I will keep you guys posted. I'll double check her schedule. All right. I'll put this on YouTube for anybody who missed it, and I'll link to that from the course. All right. Have a great day.